Well, Professor Tosa talked about the fusion of Buddhism and Shinto priest, and I would like to talk about the history and the example of this unity between Buddhism and Shintoism. Now, what is Shinto? This has developed based on the awe and respect to the nature. And so within the Japanese archipelago, nature, it has to do with the expression, way of expression and way of art, is what priest Shintoism is. And so I think it's very similar to the craftsman's world. So it is a very aesthetic and sensual kind of religion. So I interpret this Shinto as a art. First, it has a feature of space, and second is kind of a way of life, and so it's a religion of a certain way of living. And then there's aesthetic element, like the graduation that was explained. I think it's similar to this aspect of Shinto, and also sensitivity. It is reflected in the festivity. At the time of festival, many offering is made to the deity, and another element is the religion of skills that support this offering. And also another element is poem or epic, or the transmission of myths. That's one. And then I integrate all this element. I call it ecological intelligence. So within Shinto, there's this ecological intelligence within the linkage of all beings. We look at the wholesomeness of the life, and this links to the Japanese archipelago. Why Shinto was born in Japan? Well, I think I take this fusion between Buddhism and Shintoism from the combination of the compounding of the plate. So geographically or geologically, there's the Eurasian plate, North American, and the Pacific and Philippine plate. Japan is the only place where the four plates are overlapping. In this way, plate-wise, Japan is unique geographically, and in Japan is being divided by the vertical and horizontal line, and the Suwano Onbashira festival is being held first time in 7 years. This kind of festival is being held, and in the four corners of this site, there's the pillar that is being established, and that's the uniqueness of Shinto. And historically and geographically, there's some aspect coming from the peninsula and the continent, and coming from the south. So there's a fusion or hybrid of different elements coming from the different directions. So first of all, there's a hybrid plate forming the Japanese archipelago, and the deity also has a hybrid structure. I think deity is the spiritual folder. So there's a number of spiritual folders, so to say, and there's this kind of folder. And there are words that end with the sound chi, ikatsuchi, kakutsuchi, nozuchi. So we can analyze these different types of deity, and each of these represent the fire, and they are all together called the 8 million gods. And this, when we express the myriads of gods and deities, I call it 8 million gods and goddesses. And when I explain this in German to German people, they laughed. They said, well, they're used to having only one god, one deity, and they felt that it's very different from their culture or religion, that we have 8 million gods and goddesses. And Shusaku Endo, in his novel, The Deep River, said that there was the theology student who was studying to become the priest, but the Japanese theology students would always be criticized in France when he was under training. They say, you have that you are have so pantheistic, and this Japanese theology student cannot accept the fact that there is the ranking and the hierarchy in the word of deity. And so this student says that God is not something that you look up to. It's not existing outside the humans. It is. So he talked about the equality and the fundamentals of life. And so Japanese people has its own unique way of looking at the deity. And Lafcadio Hahn, he's a European that lived in Japan. So he captured very well the spirituality of the Japanese people. And what he says is that from Matsue, when he went to visit the Izumo shrine, the wind and the air and the light, he felt something divine. And he felt that this is what Shintoism is all about. It's the ghostly, spiritual thing that he felt, Lafcadio Hahn felt. And when he worshipped the Izumo shrine, said that it's not, what is important is what is existing inside this Shinto shrine, that there's something divine. And in Shinto, there's no philosophy, no morals, but this, where the Western religion has these aspects. But so Shinto does not have these elements, but still there's something in Shinto which makes it unique, is what Lafcadio Hahn said. So, and Norinaga Motoi said that God or deity is, well, everything that makes them respectful, be it in the shrine, be it in the ocean, be it animals or the beasts, in all the natural elements. If there's something that is awesome, then it will be deity. So the singer Haruo Minami said, the customers are all gods. So, and Buddha, what Buddha said was that he so he said that the Buddhism and the Shintoism is completely different, but I said that the God exists, deity exists, but Buddha is about refining. And so humans is to be able to, for humans, something for humans to be. And also for the Buddhism, you have to meditate, and so there's a difference between the two. And then there is still this fusion or unity between the two. One is there's the fusion between different Shintoism. In the tens thousands of history in Japan, all the deity, there was a time that all the different types of deity got together. So in year 538, it's the history between the unity between the Buddhism and the Shintoism is only about 1,400 or 500 years. In the Meiji era, the two were forced to separate. It was the kind of a forced divorce, so to say. So it was not really meeting the needs of the people. So now overcoming the separation of the Buddhism and the priest, it's like the working couple type of coexistence, I think. So the Japanese cultural structure, if you look at the relationship between the Buddhism and the Shintoism, in the ancient time, the Shintoism was stronger than the myth, and there were poems and respected as well as the festivals, and the Buddhism was well established. That was in the Kamakura days onwards. And during the warring days, it was important to be religious, and so this in the tales of Heike in permanence was respected. But now in the modern times, the respect was more on self-discipline and the learning, and now in the modern days it's more the science and technology era to try to introduce the Western teaching. And it was Prince Shotoku that modeled the fusion between the two in Buddhism. Next era was in the Mount Hiei, or the Kukai, the priest, these people. Saicho, when he was making this temple at the Mount Hiei, he and Kukai was also had these subjects of worship, which is local deity. So both priests respected the local deity. This is Mount Hiei, and it's described as a mountain. Then there's a temple, and so this describes how the syncretic unity of Buddhism and Shintoism was achieved. And Kukai, there were two people. This most likely the mountain deity that was worshipped. Koyamyojin was having a dog, was walking a dog, and Kukai met this deity. So this mandala. So there's the waterfall, is what is described in the mandala. This is really unique to Japan. And Jukkai mandala is that human mind has, it's including everything, the heaven and the hell and all the life cycle is included, and it's described in this one piece. And metaphorically, in Yoshino's world, this word is expressed. The mountain is heaven or hell. In Tateyama, there's the heaven and the hell, as well as the Mount Fuji. There's a sacred place, and Mount Kasuga. There was a time when there's a unity between Buddhism and Shintoism. And now today, I'm running out of time, skipping around. I have this flute made from rock, a stone. This is from the Jomon days. It was excavated from that times, the remains. So we knew that they were used, and there were many reasons explained. Yukio Michio said that described this flute, and he said that he describes the use of this kind of the flute when people became spiritual. So this flute is used in no is really symbolic of this fusion between Shintoism and Buddhism. So in the transmission of flowers through the master of forms, Seami is saying that so there's the sacred Shinto music and dance, but in the Buddhism, there's also the no that started from Buddhism as well, and also in the Hatha family, there was a family tradition that was the beginning of the no. So there were three theories of how no started out, how it started in Shintoism and Buddhism and family tradition. And so what Zeami is saying, that there's the element in no of both Shintoism and Buddhism, and so there's also the Buddhist priest. So Shintoism is to comfort the vengeful spirit, as well as the Buddhist practice of trying to get rid of the earthly desires. So both elements are integrated, and in this stage, Kagura is a sacred Shinto music and dance, and so it has to be divine or spiritual. But it's like half and half between, but in Kabuki, this is the link package. This is the flower way. So the focus is to entertain the audience, is the kabuki focus. So the way the stage is set, the Shinto and the kabuki is different, but still the no is in between. No has both the elements of offering to deity, and also it has the element of entertaining the audience. So no is no Saitensha Tenga Benzai Tansha. This shrine is existing Shinto-wise. It's Kushima Hime is worshipped, and so it has. So this near this shrine, there are some important places of religion. So I've been visiting this place for decades, and there's this unique festival. It was on the February the 2nd, and February 3rd is the day of the last day of winter of the lunar calendar, and we hold the ceremony of firing the firing ceremony of the kyon, and there were many offering dance offered to the deity. And so within this ceremony, Saito Goma, we put the pottery in this kyon in this ceremony. And so for the 14 years we've been continuing this kind of a festival, and this is what we do is on the 4th of February at the ceremony for the arrival of the spring. We take it out from the kiln, and this is my work, piece of work, pottery. This is somebody else's, and this is from the chief priest. This is the urn. So what we're doing is we're trying to create our own urn. Shintoism is about knotting or tying, and the Buddhism is about untying, unknotting. So that means, so this urn is the container for putting one's ashes, so it means death. And so this is kind of like the Santological meditation that we're doing in creating this urn. So I think that we should take another view of how the fusion between the Shintoism and Buddhism can play a part in transmitting these different skills and different traditions, and so we should take another look at the value.